Now going to speak to Nabeel Khoury, who's a former U.S. diplomat with extensive experience within the Middle East throughout his career in the State Department, joining us from Washington, D.C. Thanks for your time. Can I first get your sort of initial thoughts to Marco Rubio's trip to Israel, his first trip as Secretary of State, and what your reaction is to that press conference?
Well, first of all, what's interesting is he's there to talk to the Israeli government. Traditionally, American diplomats then went on to Ramallah to meet with the Palestinian Authority. In this case, Rubio is not doing that. So this is sidetracking the Palestinian Authority, despite all the conveniences and all the cooperation and collaboration it has given the Israeli government. Secondly, the next stop after Israel is going to be Riyadh and possibly the United Arab Emirates. So this fits into what the Trump vision, even though it has always been lacking in detail, but this is in harmony with that vision, which is rebuilding Gaza minus the Palestinian population. So I imagine reading behind the lines and the words actually used, and they really don't hide very much, which is they're discussing the details of the transfer of the Palestinian population somewhere else outside of Gaza. That somewhere else has yet to be determined. They haven't gotten any approval from either Egypt or Jordan for a mass transfer of population. In the end, they will have to come up with a solution. And I imagine part of that solution would be some kind of camps in the Negev desert. And then they discuss the reconstruction once the war is finished to Israel's satisfaction. Unfortunately, the end game of what the Palestinians have in mind and what the Trump administration and Netanyahu have in mind are completely at odds.
And when it comes to, I mean, they made a number of statements throughout the press conference. I'm just picking out the most significant ones that we heard. Netanyahu also did say that Israel will eliminate Hamas militarily and its political rule in Gaza. Does this give you any idea of sort of the direction that Israel wants to go in and whether it's fully backed by the United States?
Yes, this was very clear from when Netanyahu visited the White House and said right in front of Donald Trump that the goal of the complete destruction of Hamas is still very much on the agenda. And since Hamas has not been destroyed yet, this very much means logically that they will proceed with the war once the hostages have all been released, or even without the hostages being released. I think from day one of Israel's war on Gaza, so we're talking about October 8th and onwards, all the discussions in Doha and in Cairo with American diplomats have been about the details of ceasefire, and really they were a sideshow because the end games have been totally different. This has never been about peace. This has never been about granting the Palestinians the right to self-determination. And I'm afraid we are now, Trump administration, for all that the right wing of America is now in Washington, they are at least very transparent. I think the Biden administration used to give lip service to a Palestinian state, knowing full well that there was no way that they were going to be able to push Israel to implement that. But this administration is telling you flat out, the Palestinians are out of Gaza to begin with. And clearly, if we watch what's happening in the West Bank, this is gradually happening to the West Bank as well. Palestinians out, Trump and his billionaire friends get the contracts for reconstruction of Gaza with Saudi and Emirati money, if the Saudis and Emiratis approve, and then Gaza becomes something for Europeans and Americans and Israelis, and not at all for Palestinians.
Look, the Arabs, and you were mentioning Jordan and Egypt a moment ago. I mean, the Arabs have said that they're going to come up with a sort of alternative plan to this plan that Trump has put forward of basically ethnically cleansing Gaza of its population, going against, of course, international law and resolutions. But are the Arabs in a difficult position here? Because how do they come up with a plan that's acceptable to the Palestinians, first and foremost, as well as the Americans, and then by extension, the Israelis?
Well, I mean, the Arab League, the Arab world has had a plan ever since 2002. It has taken a few different variations, few different details over the years. But essentially, the Arabs have had a plan to allow for the liberation of Palestinian land, the establishment of a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital, and security arrangements to be guaranteed by Arab countries. But the Palestinians were always fine with that plan. But the Arab world is never going to convince the Trump administration and the Israeli government of such a plan. So, yes, they are in a difficult position. I think the Arab states, and primarily Saudi Arabia, which is the strongest Arab state at the moment and the one with the most influence with the Trump administration and with the world, really, they have to decide, are they serious about Palestinian rights or not? And if not, they can just give in and allow Trump and Netanyahu to do whatever they want with the Palestinians. But if they are serious, then they have to consider what leverage they have, what leverage, economic or other, that they can use in order to push things in a different direction. Are they going to do that? So far, there is no indication. But we will have an inkling after Rubio gets to Riyadh and see what he hears over there.
Okay, thank you so much, Nabeel Khoury, former U.S. diplomat. Thanks for speaking to us this hour from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.